Anything meaningful in marriage takes effort because we are evolving people, becoming more and more who we should be, how God designed us. But different seasons, different times, all of these things take work to stay together. Hey friends, welcome back to the podcast. Another episode of Imperfectly Married. That's my beautiful wife, Heather. My name's Michael. We're now 27 years in. And
27 years.
27 years and loving every minute of it. So a couple of housekeeping things first. I want to start off by saying, giving a reminder, share, subscribe, like. Whatever platform you're on, please do that. It totally helps us out to get the word out there. We just want to encourage couples. And do we need to encourage anything else? Like what? Comment if you like. I mean, that'd be great too.
Yeah. Comment, follow, like, subscribe, all the things.
All the things. And so this is kind of an interesting special episode. We're going to turn it into a two-part episode because we're talking about sex. Yeah, we are talking about sex. Now, we're going to give a little disclaimer here. So we're going to be talking about physical intimacy, stuff like that. Not necessarily the act of, but we're going to talk about sex across the board. And so you make your choice on who gets to listen to this episode. So we just want to say that up front. But
yeah, little ears, probably not the best episode to be listening.
Yeah, I mean, they need to know it sometime, but right now maybe it's not the one that you want to have in the car. So yeah, hold off on that. And to our own kids, if you don't want to know, don't listen. Okay, so yeah. There we go. Yeah, we were just talking to our son just a second ago before we went on, and
asked him if he wanted to be a guest.
Yes. So anyway, so we're talking about sex.
Yeah.
And it's been a year. We celebrated our 1 year anniversary, our last episode, which was so
amazing.
Fun. If you haven't listened to that one or seen it, actually go to try to see it because we did one of those popper. What do you call those things?
Confetti popper.
Yeah, the confetti popper.
Confetti cannon.
Yes. And it looked really, really cool.
It did look
It was
cool.
a little scary.
My ears rang for hours.
And our podcast studio is not
small.
Big. So it went everywhere.
And who cleaned it up?
Because you said. Anyway. So we're going in and we're talking about the topic of sex in marriage and the connection and the intimacy of it. I want to be upfront. I am not comfortable leading this particular episode because this subject is it's been difficult for me. It's also been difficult for us in our marriage and how that goes. So I just want to say up front, I'm uneasy about going into this episode. And
you're going to do great.
Oh, no, and I know. And for our audience, we switch on who leads. So it's not just one person always leading. We do that on purpose. And this just so happens to fall on my week. Awesome. But I want to start right off and just kind of say, well, actually, no, hold on there. How do you feel? How do you feel about our episode?
I feel fine.
Because never mind. I was going to say, because you are fine.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Nerd. Okay. So I totally feel fine having the conversation. I think it's interesting that you struggle so much because we were talking about this earlier today, that it's like we actually talk about sex a lot within our relationship. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting because we talk about it a lot, but we actually don't do it a lot.
Correct.
So I just want to kind of like throw that out there, that it's like we have a very healthy relationship, but I would say that it's like if someone were to like, you know, maybe be a psychologist and like say, oh, how often do you guys actually have sex? We don't actually have sex all that often,
right.
But we talk about it a lot. And I do think that does help like us in our intimacy. We're just very practical people and we live very busy lives, and there's just a lot of times where it's just tiredness that overtakes things.
I think in our own story there's a lot of factors that make frequency a thing and make it less or sometimes more and some kind of stuff like that. But you know, we're starting off talking about a subject that I guess depending on where you came from and your family, maybe you didn't really talk about it a lot. I know in my particular family, you kind of have the conversation, Mine came a little late. I think for a lot of parents, the conversation does come, especially now. It kind of comes late into the conversation. I remember having conversations with our own kids and how it's so brutally uncomfortable and trying to explain. I remember I was explaining it to Blake. It was either Blake or Luke, and I was kind of cleaning the pool and kind of walking around and explaining, like what happens in sex. And you get the sense of like, you're just telling them something that they kind of already know or have heard before.
Right.
And which is a little disconcerting, but we are talking about a conversation that many people, I would say, don't necessarily talk about. And when you think in our culture today, the physical act, that physical intimacy, the act of sex has really been reduced to just a simple form of transaction. This is just what we do. We go on a date and we kind of have sex. But coming from a faith perspective and coming from what we think about sex and what we know about sex, it's so far more than that. And we actually live in a culture that uses sex as a weapon, uses it as a marketing tool. And the fact that it's used in our culture as those things is indicative of how important it is, how deep it goes, because it draws human act. It draws human activity. It draws human emotion and everything like that. So we're really talking about a really big subject.
Yeah, I think it's actually really interesting because a lot of the world is all talking about it. Like we're talking about it in literally every aspect of our lives in a sense, because the world is talking about it so frequently or exposing us to it when we don't even intend for that to be the intention behind it. But what's happened is because it's being talked about in those in situations of, what you just said, like marketing and all of these outside spaces, I think what ends up happening is that it in some sense cheapens what the act actually is, or it changes the definition of the act within a spousal relationship based on what you consume or how you interpret what you're kind of being forced to view. Because I would say a lot of the times it's like thrust upon us when it's like, oh, I didn't know that when I went to go see that movie that I was going to see that sex scene or
100%.
or what. And sometimes it's like that can be kind of intrusive in a sense.
And you didn't get to control it.
And you didn't get a say. Obviously there's like tools and websites that you can go onto to like, whatever. But I do think that there's something that's very interesting about the culture that we live in today in regards to sex.
Yeah. And even if you aren't used to having the conversation about sex and maybe maybe you didn't learn about it in a healthy way, silence allows you to start filling in the gaps yourself.
Right.
And then culture is also now, like you said, culture is now telling you what sex is and what it should be because it's displayed everywhere. And apparently this is what sex is supposed to be. And now you can go into a marriage. Just imagine that. You go into a marriage relationship and maybe you don't know the real the facts about how significant physical intimacy, sex is to a relationship. You go into a marriage and you guys are on two different wavelengths, especially if you take the faith approach and you are waiting until marriage to actually have sex. That can really cause a lot of bumps in the road, none that are irrecoverable, but you can see how difficult that can be when the culture and silence has then given you that opportunity to, I guess this is what sex is and this is what it means.
That's why we're going to say it again and again and again, is that communication is so important, especially when we're talking about sex. You have to be communicating, your previous experiences. You have to
that's a big deal.
You have to communicate your current experience. I know that right now I'm in I'm in a current season that I haven't necessarily been in before. And it's like, so it's really an interesting thing. And then there's also like hormone factors. There's so many things that go into this conversation that it's not just a conversation to be had just one time. And then it's like, that is the definition of marriage, like our sexual relationship within our marriage for the rest of our marriage.
Yeah.
It's like, no, like it's always changing, and it's always kind of like, it's very fluid, and it's just because one thing works today doesn't mean that it's going to work in a month from now, especially for
So
for
true.
us women.
That's so true.
You know, it's like we are very complex creatures.
Yeah.
And so
Wonderfully complex.
so, you know, it is very interesting because when we're talking about sex, it's so layered and so nuanced. And
So one of the things that you just brought up that kind of made me, I want to kind of go back to housekeeping, where sex, physical intimacy, and everything around sex, there has been trauma in people's lives
Absolutely.
that we don't want to discount.
Yeah.
This particular subject is like the poster child of being imperfectly married, because we're coming from experience and research, but by no means we're not therapists in this. We're simply bringing there is past experiences that people can have that truly change how they can even operate in the area of sex. So just want to put that out there. That
it could be triggering for some
very
that haven't have a skewed past.
Absolutely.
Or not skewed. That's
it's
like
just
the wrong word.
a traumatic experience where it just completely changes how you view it. And so if that's you, for one, so sorry that's your experience.
Yeah.
And we understand truly that we don't know. We don't know what that is and how that operates. And so we just want to make that very clear. This is a space of no shame. There's no pressure. We're just having a conversation of our experience in sex and what we believe sex to be when you've had a relatively healthy view and direction in your life. And so I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a really important thing. I want to start off on why it matters. Why does sex and a conversation about sex and physical intimacy, why it even matters? And I kind of want to start off with the true fact that sex is just not a physical interaction. Now, culture would tell you that it is, that it's just a physical thing. Sure, it feels great and it's awesome and you have this great experience, but it is always tied. This is one thing I will say, whether you believe it or not, it is always tied, physical to the emotional. We've said several times on our podcast how that heartstring. I love how you explain that. Can you kind of explain that connection when you have a sexual interaction and then there's a string there connected?
Oh, like the heart tie? Yeah. So when you transact the act of sex, there's physical chemicals that are released within our bodies and within our minds, and it's hormonal. And so there's a hormone that's released that ignites connection with that person. Because if we're going back, it's like, this is all biblical. So God designed our bodies to, when we like have intercourse with our spouse or with our partner, it's like there is something that it's going to tie our hearts to each other. So that's why biblically, like, there's such a big emphasis on not doing or not having sex before marriage, because you are tying yourself to that person.
Yep.
And because that's a God-given thing that initially connects you. And I mean, over time, that connection can unfortunately also dissipate when you've had some, like, maybe not so great interactions.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that you can't control. Just because you think it's transactional, you're having this physical transaction, you don't have control of what your emotion is doing. Now, you may be cut off and this is just transactional. There is something internal happening that is happening because the act of sex is the physical and the emotional coming together. That is the expression of those two things meeting.
Yeah, and I would even say that it's not even emotional as much as it is like a physical response in that hormonal, like, releasing of that hormone that bonds you with that person. So it's very interesting, like when you really start diving into it and really kind of seeing the connection. Like we were listening to I was listening to a podcast, and it was something that was really interesting. And it was when like you are at climax, looking me in the eyes.
Oh my gosh, the eye contact like that.
Builds an extra layer of connection.
Mm-hmm.
Which we had never experienced. And it was so interesting because it's like we tried it out.
Yeah.
And it was really, it totally worked. So that tip is for free, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. You didn't have to.
So I expect all of our listeners to be doing
eye
that.
Contact.
Eye contact.
Yeah, eye contact. And it's going to be funny because if that's not your normal way, it's going to, hold on.
It's like,
yeah. Don't distract me. Don't talk. No talking.
Oh, I feel a little warm right now.
I got warm too. I got a little warm.
Okay. Anyways.
Because the reason why this is important is because of the culture that we come from, we automatically think that a lot of times that the issue starts in the bedroom. Like this is where all of the good connections and everything happens in the bedroom, but it's actually not that at all.
I'm actually going to interrupt because I think there's also this misconception that the second you get married, that it's like, oh, sex is now a part of our marriage and it should be easy, or that it's normal. And,
oh my gosh,
and it's like, it's anything but.
Oh,
it's why so many marriages deteriorate over this subject, because it's like, for one, they're not communicating, or they are communicating and it's falling on deaf ears. So
we think that sex is about sex. It's just the sex. It's that thing. It's actually all about connection.
Yes.
That's why the eye contact is so important, right? It's
true.
That's the craziness of it. But there are actual real, and this is why we want to do this episode, because there's real struggles when it comes to sex. For one, coming from a faith perspective, the enemy, the devil, has a whole strategy on sex because it affects everyone. It affects everyone. And so there's a draw to both men and women of the sexual desire, and because that climax thing has a pull on everyone, on most people, I'll say. And so there becomes this environment that we are a part of, to where we're being bombarded with sex in all of its forms, and even some healthy, but it's still out there. That what rises to the surface many times, because we're bombarded with really poisoned versions of healthy sex in marriage, a lot of struggles start to rise to the surface. And I think it's good for us to talk about things like mismatched desire, or feeling rejected or feeling pressured, the reality of exhaustion being a real thing.
Yeah.
And I know there's this idea that I'm just tired. Well, it's like you're tired all the time but that's a real thing. Being exhausted, if you're living a particular life that is heavily stressed, which we have been in for a long time, that really affects your availability, both honestly, practically, time, and the emotional capacity of even getting connected. Because connecting with your spouse takes effort, takes margin, it takes all of this, but then you get to the point of, I don't have anything else to give. And then that part is now falling off.
I think a lot of the times there's just missed opportunities and missed connections, because men and women are very different, and we perceive the act of sex very differently. So like for me, I need that emotional connection, and in order to feel the desire, and then it's like you actually need the physical connection to then feel the emotional connection. And so it's like the circular pattern
Yep.
again that it's like we're experiencing, but we're experiencing it on different levels. And so it's like mine is emotional that leads to physical, and yours is physical that leads to emotional.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it is very complex and it's very challenging because I need like this is a lot of my personal experience, but I do feel like from talking with friends and people that they feel that a lot of the same way, that it's like the physical connection and the physical intimacy, it starts with me not feeling stressed out, me having lighthearted conversations, there being an ease to our relationship and
Fun.
fun. And Gottman says that it's like friendship is a huge indicator
Yeah.
of a healthy, solid marriage. And then he also says that the sexual component is also an indicator of a healthy, strong marriage, because when you're having that deep friendship, then you naturally want to be connected with each other
That's good.
on that deeper level. And so I think that that's a huge thing, but it's like there's so many things that need to kind of fall into place in order for me to feel emotionally safe and emotionally available to be able to be like, okay, yeah, I could entertain the idea that's something that we would do. And so it's very nuanced and it's very deep and layered. But for you, it's like you could walk by the bathroom and I'm taking a shower and you're just like, oh, bang, like I want that.
Yep.
And it's so different in
Sorry, I was trying not to laugh.
the responses.
Oh my goodness.
Well,
No, it's true.
but it's so true.
No, it's so true. I'm just trying to stay serious.
But it's like it just takes a lot more time for me. And in our relationship, I'm the one that like pursues and like instigates sex. So that's likely why we don't have it very often, is because I need all of those things in order to create that environment for me then to be able to initiate.
Yeah, and that's actually interesting how you bring that up, because well, all relationships, I would say, have their different ways of going about it. We can't pigeonhole.
Oh,
this
yes.
is what it is all the time.
This is what it is for us.
Yeah, this is what it is for us, because it can be completely opposite for somebody else, where the woman actually is the one that's just like, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy's like, dude, you need to love me a little bit. I need you to provide an environment for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's all connected to personality. Though there are some biological male-female dynamics that could kind of be true. But I know for us early in our marriage, it's been something that we've always struggled with, is my lack of pursuit of you in a way of having wanting to have sex, and then me always relying on you to then initiate, because I don't want to feel rejected. The sad thing about that is, at this, and I know this to be true, at this point of our marriage, rejection is really not a thing that I'll ever experience, and unless it's really obvious, then I don't even try. But I think a lot of spouses, I'm not even going to say men or women, there's a lot of spouses that have experienced rejection at some time, and it just lays hold. For me personally, I know it's been unfair to ever even reference the fear of being rejected, but it truly is still a thing, even though I know in my head that my wife's very rarely ever going to say no, because I know that's who you are. But that has colored our sexual relationship because of that. And the reality is that could be the reality for many spouses out there, to where the reason why they may not feel pursued is because of something that has happened in the past. Not that justifies not healing and working on yourself and then starting the pursuit.
Right.
The great thing about you is you have, for the sake of the marriage, adjusted to my inadequacy in that part of our relationship, which has been great and really helped us. That doesn't that doesn't give me the freedom to not pursue you in a way that is filling and provide an environment that gets all of those things to where, oh, now I want to have sex. Like there's not the freedom to do that. But it is a true and real reality for people that in relationships that there could be things in the past that just, it's hard to get over. And even, and this is my personal experience, even when it should be so easy. It really should, because you're an incredible woman and gracious in the way that you kind of deal with like who I am and what I bring to the table. So for me, it should be really easy and still difficult. And that is a reality for a lot of people.
But I think even in hearing you say that, there's a lot of shoulds. And that's what I think that is so challenging within like the sexual relationship, is that there are so many perceived shoulds.
Wow. That's a great point.
Of that,
it should be like this.
You should be able to overcome that. You should be able to like just do the thing. But it's like the reality is that it's like everyone's marriage relationship and marriage experience is so different.
Yeah.
And it's so deep and so nuanced that it's like there isn't any one way that it should be or that it should look like.
That's so good.
So it's like
everybody listen up.
I think that is the one thing that it's like we're missing is that we are two different people with two different personalities, with two different pasts and on our own struggles. And so we're bringing all of that to the marriage and to the table. And so it's like those first couple years of our marriage, when I did reject you and you felt that rejection, that has carried you for the last, 27 years. And it's like, there is no pathway or willingness that you can do to be able to will yourself to get over that. It's like,
that's good.
It's really just you surrendering that belief and that should to the feet of the Lord and saying, Lord, I don't want to carry this anymore.
That's good.
And it's
that's
like
so good.
And then allowing the Lord to heal these things. This is why we are so big on having faith as a component of your marriage and of your relationship, because otherwise you are going to be constantly carrying all of those burdens and all of those shoulds into your relationship. It's just like how we say that it's like, oh, we should be having sex more often. But you know what? This works for us. And it's like,
we've fallen into that trap. I mean, we have friends that, I mean, I know.
Oh, if I compare myself to my friends, I'm like,
gosh.
I'm like, you guys are like bunny rabbits.
Like, what in the world? Like,
I'm like, we suck.
Yeah, I'm like, because we've done that many times. We're like, well, something must be wrong. I mean, it must be a problem. But it's so not. It's not that. And this has been such a great part. I'm so glad that you said all, because it's so true. Even as I rehearse what I was said, it's all about the should be the should, and that's such wisdom, honey.
Because we put so much pressure on ourselves to have it be like the novel we're reading. It should be in the movies. It should be in the sitcoms. It should be like the Victoria's Secrets catalog. I should be a certain weight. I should, all of these things that it's like all we're doing is we're comparing our reality to someone's fictitious written life. And that's not true. It's not real. And it's completely made up. And so it's like we're putting our realities onto someone else's written fantasy. And that is wrong.
Bam.
Because you are not going to be able to overcome and live a satisfactory life and marriage when you're constantly comparing it to something that's made up and not even real.
Yeah. And there's the reason why they wrote it like that.
Yes.
Because everybody desires that.
Yes.
I mean, it's
because sex should be easy. Sex should be just like something that it's like you just wake up and you're like, oh, hey, baby.
Let's just
and it's
go.
like, and let's do it. And it's like, and then it's magical and fireworks. I'm sorry, but there's so many women that don't even orgasm. Like that is a difficulty within the marriage.
Yeah.
Like
That's a big deal.
that does create another hurdle for that woman to be able to come to the table. She probably could feel shame for not experiencing that. She could want it so bad that now she's in her head. So every time you do it, it's like you're constantly like, oh gosh, and then it's making it more difficult and more
Even
hard.
to get there, even to
Show up and be fully present. You guys, we have so many nuances within this whole sexual life that we live, that it's like, it is not cookie cutter, and it is not something that's just going to magically happen.
Yeah.
You know, I read this one book a long time ago called Sheet Music, and it's called Sheet Music because he says that it's like, you don't just sit down at a piano and just know magically how to play the piano. You have to learn, you have to study the sheet music. You have to like learn how to like maneuver the notes and how to like do all the things. But it's like, you can only do that through practice, rehearsing, and talking about it and getting better. So let's start having the conversations and let's grow into a really solid sexual relationship.
Normalizing communicating about sex and the areas that we're struggling. Imagine what could be the outcome of, because I forgot about that reality of that there's many women that don't orgasm, and how it makes me sad to think that there's even an additional weight to someone going into this very important and critical part of marriages and can't get to the place. And they're probably shooting themselves, right? I said shooting themselves. And then it's even more difficult. And you're creating a narrative, I can imagine, in your head about how disappointing it must be for my spouse and all of these things.
The guy's having ED.
Oh,
Hello?
yeah. No, that's true.
Same thing.
Yeah. That's
like the shame that you carry, like not. And then that's like, and then the perceived stress that brings to the marriage of like, oh, well, is it me? You know, because it's like, you just like, the enemy is having a field day within our marriages and within our sexual relationships. You guys, we need to wake up and start doing battle, because it's like, great. We need to not be content and just sitting back and just being like, oh, well, you know, this is just culture. No, we need to get up and we need to start fighting, because this is a battle worth fighting.
You know, and I agree with that. And we've talked about the connection between the physical act of sex and the emotional connection, that they both go together. But there are, especially even in our marriage, there's health issues that then create a difficulty in sex, where if you hear all the time that sex and emotion and connection, all this other kind of stuff, and imagine if you don't even contemplate that something going on in your body is creating a distance between you and your spouse, and not even knowing that that's what's happening, which kind of happened in our own case. That's also a factor. Can you talk a little bit about even that for us, what that was?
Yeah. If you are a woman and you have hit 40 years old, you need to go get your blood work, because you just need to go find out what's going on. And if you're feeling great, still go get your blood work, because you need your baseline.
Good.
And then what I'm going to say is that it's like, because as soon as you start hitting 40, all of your hormones start changing, and you stop producing certain hormones at the level that you were. So that could create vaginal dryness. It can create a lack of libido. It can create all of these things that are now creating a bigger hurdle to get over. It's like lack of desire. So it's like, for me, all of a sudden I was 45 and I'm hitting that time in my life to where it's like, all of a sudden I looked around and I go, oh my gosh, I haven't actually desired sex in a really long time. I'm dry. I'm like, not necessarily, I used to be able to orgasm like that, and all of a sudden I can't. So there's all of these situations and all of these things that are happening, and that are, I was thinking it was me. that it's like, well, okay, so I just need to reduce stress.
Do this better. And
like I'm not into it as much. And like, oh, is there something going on that it's like, I don't know between us?
Your husband's hot and it's not working.
I don't mean to laugh, but basically what was happening is that I was in adrenal fatigue. I had hormone levels that were off. My thyroid was crashing. All of these other things were happening internally that I had no idea about. And so it's like, so then talking to the doctor, it's like, we're starting to figure things out and getting me back on control or back in order. It's like I'm on testosterone, but it is taking so much longer than I want it to.
There is no quick fix to making things right.
No.
You just got to know there is no quick fix. You go on the journey because we've done quick fixes before, and
I've literally tried everything, and it's just
keep going. It's great.
You just need to be okay with small changes incrementally, and then it's going to eventually things are going to click and get back into order.
And this is not one of those things where you go to your urgent care doctor and be like, hey, can you do a blood test for me real quick?
No,
because they're just trying to keep you alive. We're not talking about alive stuff, and we've actually had a podcast about this specifically, but it's more it's functional health.
Okay. So they're not taking your blood work and putting you up on against like everyone.
Yeah.
You know, we're not talking about like the 20-year-old like teenager that is like, you know, completely optimized. We're talking about they're looking at your blood work based on your age, on your gender. Like I don't want to be having my blood markers up against a male. I just don't, because yours are going to be very different than mine. And so it's like a functional health doctor is going to take your blood work and they're going to dissect it, and they're going to be looking at how things are paralleling and correlating with each other, and they're going to try to get you into the optimized section of your blood work. Like there was a few markers that it's like when I got retested, I was like, oh, sweet, my progesterone is good. And she was like, no, we actually want your progesterone up here. And I was like, oh, but it's in range. And she was like, yeah, but most people, like, because you're still not feeling like great and you're having these symptoms, and she named off all these symptoms, and I'm like, oh, I had no idea. She was like, we're trying to get you here so that you feel really good. Because I'm telling you that for all the women out there, if you're feeling good, you're gonna want to have sex more. So men, support your wife on getting their blood work. And if you don't know where to go to get your blood work, reach out to me, imperfectly_Heather, and on Instagram or anywhere, and message me, and I'll send you the information, because you need to do this.
And this is where one of the things that we always talk about in relationship is staying curious. Don't assume things. Don't create these narratives, and which we've stumbled a little bit this week on that, but we're trying to remember. We're trying to remember what we do.
We're still human, and we're imperfect.
Imperfectly. Anyway. This is where staying curious was very important, because it wasn't just like, okay, well, you don't love me, you don't like me, and this marriage is a sham. It was, there seems something strange here, and taking the extra steps where I think staying curious was actually really important. Now, we're going to go into some myths. Okay, we're going to go with some myths about sex.
I love myths.
Right, and so there's like 5 of them. Okay. You've actually kind of we touched on a couple, but we're actually going to give them some meat. Okay. So, myth number 1, we should always be in sync. Should always be in sync. There should be no problem. You know me, I know you. Sex should be easy, no big deal. It sounds great, doesn't it?
Oh.
I would want that. I would actually love to have that. That'd be great.
But again, that's what culture is portraying to us.
Right. Because I just saw it on TV. What's her name? They did. It's perfect. It's just whatever.
Yeah. If you just buy me K Jewelers, I'll just melt.
K Jewelers, we love you. We're not.
You can sponsor us.
Yeah. Hey. Okay. So that sounds great, but it's actually not based in reality, right?
Right.
It's based off reality shows. It's based off, a curated story that should happen, and so we should always be in sync. No, actually, you probably shouldn't, because you're really not working very hard then in changing this different seasons of changing in relationships. It's that you can't stay in sync without always adjusting, right? Always having to work for it.
I would also say that it's like that's why a lot of the reality TV couples don't last past the finale of the season, because they have been in curated situations of where it's like they've made the date magical. They've, you have a whole production team that's creating an environment and creating conversations and creating this romantic gesture.
It couldn't but be amazing.
Exactly. And so all of a sudden the finale ends,
and you have to go to Sizzler.
And now oh my gosh, you just dated yourself.
But that's why it's funny.
There is one Sizzler left that we know of.
Yeah, it's true.
In Big Bear.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, but I do think I'm just saying that is also why that is such a big myth, is because we're also watching it unfold on TV, and then they don't last, and then we're devastated.
Being out of sync is actually normal. Staying silent about it is the problem.
This is a myth?
No, that's the reality.
Oh, okay. So you have to say it again then, because
being out of sync is actually normal.
Oh, yes.
Because you have different seasons.
Yes.
How you and I relate at 25 and how we relate at 45 is completely different.
Praise
to think
the
that you're
Lord
not talking about that
Yeah.
and at some point you were out of sync is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it's how, if we stay that way and don't talk about it, then that's the problem.
Well, there's been seasons of our marriage of where it's like, I'm like, we're not doing that well. And you're like, what?
Oh yeah.
And it was just because
routine.
It's because you were in your pattern. I was in my pattern, and I'm like, hey.
Hello.
And so, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Myth number 2.
That's more normal.
Myth number 2. If we love each other, this should be easy.
There's that should again.
Right? That was such a great point. I can't believe I didn't see it in my notes. Just shit all over the place.
You love saying that.
Because it does take... Okay, so anything meaningful in marriage takes effort, because we are evolving people, becoming more and more who we should be, how God designed us, but different seasons, different times, all of these things take work to stay together.
I remember saying this to you one time, and I was like, do you want a good marriage or do you want a great marriage? Because we can have a good marriage and we can just sit by, like, do our date every once in a while, like have an occasional conversation. But when we are doing intentional effort, that transforms our good marriage into a great marriage. That's why I said last week that it's like we have to be putting our marriage top of mind all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
Because it's always changing. It's a river. It's moving. It's not stagnant. If it stays stagnant, you're roommates. I mean, that's what ends up happening.
It's true.
And we would hate for something like that to happen in any marriage, because marriage, we've always said, second most important relationship in the world. One is your relationship with God. Second is your relationship with your spouse, if you choose to get married.
Every marriage has the potential to be an outstanding, most fulfilling thing of your entire life.
That then spills over generations of your life.
Yes.
Honestly.
And can change the health and the pathway of your kids, can change the trajectory of your job.
Yes.
It can change the trajectory of so much.
It affects everything.
Because
in both ways.
Yes, exactly.
Right? In both ways. It can go both ways.
I want you to be the best version of yourself, and I know that you want the same for me.
I do. Maybe we should pause the podcast real quick.
Shut up.
Okay.
Keep going.
Okay, here we go.
Myth 3.
Myth 3. More sex equals better marriage.
Yeah. No.
Holy moly.
No. False.
That
False.
alone can be an episode in itself, because there's a lot to be said of that. Right.
Well, yeah, because I think that sometimes it's like you can actually use sex as a Band-Aid to cover up what is actually the root of the issues going on.
Because if we're having sex, everything's fine, right? If we wouldn't be having sex if our relationship was shot.
Or how many times, I mean, I've just heard this from like personal experience that it's like the woman's just like, well, he just wants it, so I just give it to him whenever he wants. And it's like, and it's like, well, do you enjoy it? No, it's just fine. Like that's just what we do. And it's like there's
something there.
There is an avenue to both be fulfilled
Yeah.
and love the act of sex.
It's not how often, it's how connected, which is why the looking in each other's eyes. I'm going to keep going back to that because I love that you brought that up. Okay, myth number 4. If they wanted me, they'd initiate.
Oh,
I know.
oh.
I was going to skip this one.
Yeah, you should have skipped that one.
I was going to skip this.
Because I believe that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh man. Okay, maybe we should skip it.
No. Yeah, because that one is a hard one for me. Because it's like, if you want me, you should pursue me. Like, why would you not?
People express desire
Okay,
differently.
read me your notes on this one, and maybe you can minister to me.
Well, I'm not. This was a hard one, even when I read it. People express desire differently, right?
Okay.
Some initiate directly, others don't.
Okay,
right?
so it's just okay.
This is what I'll say.
Okay.
Consider that desire. I'm not saying that. Okay, so even though we're laughing about this, I want to make sure that this doesn't come as an anchor. That this is not an anchor. This is not an anchor moment. It could be that desire does show up differently for people. And I'm not saying that, and I'm not saying that should eliminate desire or eliminate initiating, but a desire for you or for your spouse could show up differently for people.
So you're saying that a desire to have sex doesn't cause you to pursue. Is that what you're saying?
Say that again?
That we're going to use us.
Yep.
Your desire for me doesn't draw you to pursue me.
No, what I'm saying is desire shows up in different ways that may not result in initiation.
Okay, I think we just said the same thing, but okay.
We're going to move on.
No, because
I'm going to say, this is what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Because it's not a hard stop. I disagree completely because I know me and I know how I feel about you. So now I'm going to get serious because I don't like there to be an idea that I don't have a desire for you. Now you may feel that. What I'm saying is desire could be there in different ways that may not result in an initiation of sex because I have my own problems that I need to get over of being rejected.
No.
So there's oh no, I'm getting serious now. There's
I know, I can see it in your eyes.
There is a reality there that is absolutely true. This may not be an overall, maybe this is a bad myth, but there are, I'll use your word, nuances to the reality of someone having a desire for someone that may not result in how the other thinks it should result in.
100%. So you can put out your
unclench.
You can put out your panties because
I don't wear panties.
Well, they seem a little fiery right now, but no, because I agree with that it's like desire. Like, I know you desire me. I know that 120%. I just, that one is a hard one for me because,
I know.
Because I do believe that it's like when you desire something, you chase after it.
Yeah.
If you desire a dream and a goal, you go after it.
Totally.
So I understand, though, that desire looks differently for other people, and it doesn't always look the way that the person wants it.
Totally. Okay. Number 5.
All I can hear is easy in my ear going, I don't want you guys to argue on the podcast.
Yeah, I know. Here we go. Talking about it makes it awkward.
Yeah.
Total myth.
Total myth, because I think that talking about it actually like creates a spiciness that could actually lead to more.
That's true. I agree with that. I will acknowledge that it could feel awkward at first, especially if you don't have a
I remember,
pattern of talking about it.
yes, I remember the first couple times that we did have the conversation. It was so awkward, and I would be just like, okay, so like, what do you like and what do you not like, and you were like, I don't know, and I was like, okay, well, I like it when we do, and it's like I had to like draw it out of you because it's like it wasn't something that you were like accustomed to talking about, and I was just like, hey, we're gonna have this conversation. Let's do it. Let's go there.
So absolutely. So it may be awkward in the beginning.
Yeah.
But consider the alternative. The alternative is not talking about it, which is guaranteed to create distance every time.
Yeah.
Not talking about it. Not taking the chance that this may be awkward just for a second, and then from that awkward then creates clarity that could then turn into something really beautiful.
I'm sorry, but talking about it leads to greatness.
Oftentimes leads to a better connection. Okay, so I have a lot more to go through, which is why we are going to do a second part of this episode that may be a little bit more robust in the practical side of things, because we're talking a lot about today about the high level understanding that sex is more than just physical contact.
Right.
Well, now maybe we have a better understanding of what sex is, what it could be, and the difficulties of it. But now, okay, so I want to have sex now. How do I do that in a way that is healthy in, maybe talking about some things that are uncomfortable, just having that myth. But we're going to be more kind of hands-on, tangible in our next episode to talk about kind of what those things are.
Yeah. And I would just say that it's like I want to leave giving some good practical resources. So John Gottman's book, The 7 Principles of a Healthy Marriage, or I think it's something,
on our website.
something along those lines. Sheet music is also another great resource. So the difference between the two is that sheet music is more biblical, and it's going to really give more practical ways of being able to find out those nuances and whatnot. Gottman's book is going to be more based on like relationship and friendship and those sorts of things. But then there's also this other podcast that I love to listen to. It's called Kingdom Sexuality. And that podcast is really great because they're taking Christian values and they're getting into the nitty-gritties of sex. And, they talk about everything from toys to lube to intimacy and creating those environments. And, it's a really great podcast to listen to. So we'll put all these things in our show notes and we'll link them up because they're great resources. In today's day and age, there's no reason to have sex be an issue in your relationship because there's so many great tools out there.
And it all starts with a conversation.
Yeah.
It all starts with a conversation. So we just want to encourage you, keep showing up for each other, keep choosing each other every day. And even if the conversation might be a little uncomfortable, push through because it could end up being really good for you.
Yeah.
Okay. See you guys next time.
Bye.